I think that's just my, mentality or my approach. But definitely there were days where you're living your dream, you're in NHL, but also it's not an easy place to be in, like with the travel, with the back-to-backs, not seeing your family that much. There were days where like when you don't feel like getting to the practice or something, but yeah, and those days are perfect for those reminders where you just have to realize how many young players would trade your spot for everything they have,
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another very special interview. And we were just talking a little bit earlier that we had a coffee probably months ago at this point. We should have just recorded the coffee for this interview because we went deep in that coffee. But today I have the privilege of sitting next to Pavel Francouz and be able to dig into the mind of a Stanley Cup champion, of an NHL goalie, a KHL goalie, a Czech Republic representative of the national team goalie. And I just can't wait for this. And thank you for taking your time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it worked out perfectly. He flew back into Denver just yesterday or day before for the rookie camp and the development camp. And yeah, we just got to come up to the co-working space and hang out. This is super, super fun for me.
Yeah, it's perfect. I mean, it couldn't be better scenario for us because I know you reached out that we can do it online, and I just replied I'll be in Denver in a week, so it couldn't be better.
Perfect. Well, first question I have for you, because, in the show notes, everybody can go check out a little more about your background and your path, and I want to dive into that path. But the first question that I have for you is, you played for a long time, recently retired, but what's one of the best memories you have from playing hockey in general in your career?
Yeah, I think it's easy to say winning the Stanley Cup in Colorado. That was totally the best memory, But I feel like my personal best memory is that, all the fun times with my family, like they were supporting me so much through my career, especially growing up. And just to be able to bring the Stanley Cup home to my hometown and gather my family around it, have a breakfast, coffee, and a cake. That might be the best, kind of my personal memory.
That's so cool. Did you do something special with the cup when you had it back home?
No, I think it was a normal day for the cup. I didn't eat or drink anything special from that. So we just, enjoyed ourselves, and I wanted the people of my hometown, Pilsen, to enjoy it too. So we had like a public part in the brewery, and we drink some beer from the cup there, and then we had some like private party, and it was just awesome.
That's amazing. Well, I want to, I know your journey a little bit to the NHL, and it's a little bit kind of different, right? But you grew up in the Czech Republic, played professionally there, KHL, and then ultimately to the NHL. But I'm just curious, like, talk me through a little bit of that path of like why the KHL, how you got exposed in the Czech league, first of all, and then how you got over here.
It was kind of unique because I feel like my whole career I was taking small steps, and I always needed some time to kind of establish myself in a certain level or certain league.
Yes.
So I started really early playing pro in Czech league, highest level. I was 18, but I had the great first year. But then the second year, I just put all the pressure in the world on myself, and it didn't work out. I wasn't quite ready for that, and I didn't do well, didn't play well, and didn't have much time then too. So we decided to take a step back, and I went to like a second highest league in Czech just to get some experience and play more, pro hockey.
Yes.
And I had luck because I met I had a goalie partner I was 19, 20 back then, and he was 40. So he was really open to me. He showed me how to deal, with the pressure. He kind of demonstrated that hockey is in the center of the universe.
Yes.
Because I felt that way back then.
Yes.
So it was really, I was really fortunate to meet him.
Yes.
He really helped me, grow up, and I was just open and listening to everything he told me, and it kind of changed my path, because after that I made it back to Czech Highest League. I played 3 seasons there. We won the championship, and then the next step was to play in KHL, which was the best European league back then. Yeah, but I remember at that point I did an interview as a fresh Czech League champion, signing the deal in KHL, and some reporter asked me about the NHL, and I remember I replied, "No, that's not the dream for me now." Like, I felt like that train is already left. I felt like it's not nothing for me. I don't know why, but it felt so far for me that I didn't even think about it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's so interesting, right? Because a couple things. One is dealing with the pressure, right? So a lot of athletes deal with pressure, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just part of the game, natural, all that sort of stuff. And you had a great first year, right, in the Czech Pro League. And then second year, that pressure kind of built. When you took the step back and then ultimately came back, like, what was your approach? And even when you were with the Avs, whatever, but like, what was your approach around pressure? How do you view it? Because it's a big struggle for a lot of athletes, not just a goalie, but like any hockey athlete, any baseball athlete, whatever.
I feel like what the older teammate showed me was the perspective. Like, you have to have the perspective on things. Like, for me at that point, it was live or die to win a game. Like, I just wanted to win so bad, and to be able to move forward in my career. I was so much focused on the results that I kind of forgot how to have fun, And this guy kind of showed me that, you can give it your best, but it doesn't have to mean that you're going to win. And
yes.
Yeah, I feel like those 2 years in a lower league, it gave me some experience too. I feel like the more experience I had through my career, the more the base is just more and more solid for you, right?
Yes.
So it means if you lose a game, you already know you achieved something in the past, and no one's going to take it from you. So, when I was moving forward, like playing in KHL, there was a lot of pressure there, because the mentality there is a little bit different. You can make good money, but the owner of the team, he wants you to win every game. He orders you to win every night. If you don't, you fail, then you're in trouble. So there were some really challenging times there, but it was those were the best lessons possible you can ask. But overall, I feel like if you're playing a pro sport, you're dealing with the pressure. It's a privilege. I feel like I have to remind myself, it's not the best feeling being under pressure, but I always remind myself that's what you wanted. Like, that's what you dream about. You're there. You made it. So just enjoy it.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I talked before, like, perspective, I think it's a huge piece of it, right? And that constant, like, I like how you you have to go back and remind yourself. Like, I have to remind myself of, it's like, why am I doing this in the first place? And you're like, oh yeah, it's exactly what I wanted. So it's like,
you gotta forget.
It's just like human nature, right? It's like and then you forget the process. And you get away from, at least I do, from that a little bit until you remind yourself, like, oh yeah, that's why I'm doing it. Now it's like back to the process.
Yeah. It was the same with me. Like, I mean, of course you would like to be in a quiet place, no pressure, nothing. But like, if you're facing a challenge, you're maybe a little bit afraid, a little bit scared, a little bit nervous, anxious. But that's why you're doing it. Like, you if you don't take in a challenge, you do nothing.
True. So true. So I think having like that 40-year-old goalie mentor was like incredible thing for you, and shift that perspective and get back to fun, things like that. One thing that we hear a lot about in sports is like, a lot of coaches are like, have fun. Like, we want it to be fun. We want it to be fun. But then the pressure like overrides it, or just the intensity, or all these different things. Right. And I imagine you experienced as you went from the Czech league to KHL, and then over to the, here in the US, fun can kind of disappear. So did you look at it as literally like, this is fun the whole time? Was it like, did you have to remind yourself more in the KHL versus the NHL, or like, what was that like? Because I think sometimes it's just,
Yeah, I think it
lose
doesn't.
perspective.
I think it doesn't make a difference where you play. There are some moments where you totally forget. It's fun. It could be a grind. Sometimes it's when your team is not doing well, like it's a struggle. But yeah, I had this routine where, especially here, when I finally made it to NHL, it took me a long time because I played in Russia for 3 years, and then even though I was quite successful in that league, I had to start from scratch here in the US, playing 1 year in the minor league, and then finally make it to the NHL. So it I feel like on the first face off of the game, I had this little bit of reminder when I was just thinking to myself, we're here. Like I just I for a second I thought about myself as a kid dreaming about playing in NHL. I was a big fan of Colorado Avalanche, and I had that split second before every game where I was just smiling and thinking about this.
So good. So good. Well, who's your favorite Avs player? Did you have one?
Patrick Roy.
Okay.
Or Joe Sakic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, two legends here in Colorado for sure.
Yeah.
Had good stories about those players for sure.
Yeah.
That was a beauty because in 95, the Avs moved here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a junior in high school at that point. And then senior year, 96, they win the cup.
Yeah.
I mean, what
it was
what an amazing entrance to a city.
Perfect entrance.
It was incredible. It was incredible. KHL to NHL. Like, why didn't you just stay in the KHL? Because you talked about a little bit like kind of dream was like, it's so far off. But why the switch?
I played for a Czech national team, and I knew that I have small chance to try to be in NHL. Back in that moment when I did that interview coming from the Czech league, I didn't feel like I have tiny chance. But, kind of being successful in KHL, which was like top European league, I felt like maybe there could be a chance for me. And I just remember that, as a kid, I had posters of NHL goalies on the wall, not KHL goalies,
True.
And it was quite challenging because one of the top teams in Russia, they just offered me basically like unlimited deal. They just called my agent and said, tell us how long and how much. And that didn't help me with the decision.
No.
And, but I just stick with the plan. I was like, man, like I dreamed about NHL as a kid. So I'm just going to try it. And if it doesn't work out, I can come back to Russia. Like that was kind of how I was thinking.
Yes. So I'll have to ask you this, right? Because this is something I'm passionate about. And maybe I'm overly optimistic with certain things, but I think a lot of times like kids have this dream of like, I want to go play. It could be on the high school team.
Mm-hmm.
It could be college and university. It could be, I want to get to a professional level. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody comes over the top and says, be realistic. That's too big a dream. What are your thoughts on that? I can tell you mine in a minute, but what are your thoughts on like a kid dreaming of like the possibilities?
I feel I mean, you can say something and you can actually dream about it, like realistically, like the realistic way. I can tell you, I want to fly to moon tomorrow. It's my dream. I would love to be there,
Yeah.
But I know it's not going to happen tomorrow. Right.
Yes.
So in my case, I feel like I wasn't looking that far. I might have that dream in the back of my head.
Yes.
As a kid.
Yes.
I wanted to play in NHL, win the Stanley Cup. But when I was in Czech league, I was only dreaming about be as best as I can in that league, maybe winning the championship there.
Yes.
And when I was in that point, I was dreaming about playing in KHL or playing for a Czech national team. And I had those smaller dreams, which kind of led my way to the ultimate biggest dream.
Yes. I like that perspective. Because one thing, did you come across people who were like you want to go to KHL or NHL or play for the Czech national team? Did you have people on the way who were like, come on, Pavel, like? you serious, or that's impossible, or that's going to be?
Yeah, I didn't.
Or was it pretty
I don't remember
smooth?
though.
You remember?
No, I remember running into someone who would like question me, like eye and eye, maybe behind my back. I don't know that I can really tell, but maybe I wasn't. I wasn't really like I wasn't really open on my dreams. It was maybe here, but I wasn't like going around and yelling or
You
screaming
didn't
to
make
the world.
T-shirts like.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Like that's a good question, but I don't really remember someone like saying me like be realistic. Like it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, I like your perspective though, because ultimately it's like, great, I want to get there, but it's like, what are the milestones? Like, what are the wins that are going to position me to even have a chance to do those sorts of things? What do you think made you be able to achieve that dream and get to the NHL, where other goalies who have a great skill set, talented, where they didn't?
Yeah, I think like the first of all, like my biggest basic thing which led to anything I did in my life is my background, my family, because I had awesome childhood with my parents and my sister, and they were just supporting me as much as they could, along the way, like the whole career.
Yes.
And I think without that, I wouldn't be able to achieve anything.
Yep.
And I feel like I was still like hungry my whole career. I know players who were like better than me in the Czech league, but they just stuck there. They didn't make it past Czech league, And I felt like that hunger, like to try to be better and better, and still like I feel like I got better during my career, like adjusting to the league, better league, quicker and much faster, better players, but I still felt like I'm hungry for more.
Yeah, that within you. How did that translate? Did that translate to like extra work out off the ice, extra work on the ice? Like, how did that? Because it's got to translate to some sort of action, right? It's kind of like, I want to get there and stuff like that. I've got the hunger, but what does that look like and mean? But what did that mean for you, like coming up?
I think it was more and more like coming forward to the better hockey and better hockey and better hockey. You just have to give it a little bit more extra every time. But I wasn't like, I can tell any story on like, you hear about the, crazy stories about Jaromir Jagr or, something like that. I didn't do nothing like crazy.
Yes.
But I was just willing to do it, and I was ready to do anything for that.
Yes. Willing to do what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's one of the secrets, like to like professional athletes, like when you get that level, is it as simple as like willing to do the work, even if it's boring or like that others aren't willing to do? Or I know it's a mix of talent too, right? But
yeah, I feel like there's a lot of stuff going together, but in my eyes, if I'm speaking for myself, I feel like it was here I feel like I just lived hockey, I would do anything for that.
Yes.
And I loved it. Like even you mentioned those boring, not funny things, you have to, it has to be done, and it will get you somewhere. So you just do it because it's not even boring for you anymore, if you know what I mean.
Yes. You found like the joy and the happiness and even the silly things.
Yes.
or things you didn't want to do.
Uh-huh.
It's amazing. And like, did you have days where like you didn't feel like going, and was it that shift in perspective and reminder that got you to go?
Yeah.
Or did you just love every day? I mean, seriously.
No, I don't think you can love it. Even though like my goalie coach here in Colorado, he told me when I was leaving that he doesn't remember one bad day with me. Like that I would be like moody or something. But I think that's just my, mentality or my approach. But definitely there were days where you're living your dream, you're in NHL, but also it's not an easy place to be in, like with the travel, with the back-to-backs, not seeing your family that much. There were days where like when you don't feel like getting to the practice or something, but yeah. And those days are perfect for those reminders where you just have to realize how many young players would trade your spot for everything they have,
Yeah.
even though I know a lot of like beer league hockey goalies who they're working all day, regular job, and then they just go to play with their friends, and they're even more passionate than someone in NHL. And I was just trying to see it from their eyes. If I would call them and say, "Hey, I don't feel like I'm gonna skate today. I'm, I don't want to go. Do you want to go?" He would just drop everything and just run
Quit my
rink
job.
to be able to face Kel McCarr or Nathan McKinnon or Mikko Rantanen
Yes.
shot, and this reminder always put me back to normal, and I was just thankful and happy that I could be there with those guys.
I love that. Love that. So many different questions I have for you. Let's talk routines for a minute, because I love this topic. You mentioned you have a routine that when the puck, right before the puck drop, like just reminding yourself of like that kind of joy and like happy to be here. Did you have like a pre-game routine, post-game routine? What did that look like or not look like for you?
Are we talking routines or superstitions?
Kind
because
of both.
because I see a difference, like I feel like I would tell you this, like when I told you the part of my career where I was really young and I was just trying to figure it out, I had a lot of superstitions back then. Like we would win the game, I would do the same stuff, all those small things, and it was just adding up. It was just getting bigger and bigger. And it got to the point where I was maybe more focused on the stuff I was doing outside than the actual game. So I remember
That's true.
I had a guy who I was talking to back then, and he just told me, don't do it anymore. Like, just don't do a single thing. He just said, like, if you look at it, like, realistically, it doesn't make you a better goalie. It's not going to help you make a save. And then I just stopped doing it, and I was free. It just. But then
So you're almost like overthinking the whole thing.
But then you get into routines. I feel like routine is good if you're playing 82 games a year. You just do some stuff like in autopilot mode, right?
Yes.
Your warm up, your lunch, you go to bed before a game a little bit, get a nap, wake up, you have the snack. You usually have the same stuff.
Yes.
But I feel like it just gets you into the game mode, because your body and brain, it's like automatic. The eyes see the snack and they know, your body knows it's game time soon.
Very true.
Yeah. But it wasn't like, if we wouldn't have the same snack at home, I wouldn't be upset or, thrown off. I would be like, I can have something else. It's not that big deal. And I think most players have certain routines, like the way they warm up.
Yes.
The way they prepare for the games.
Very true. I like that, though, that difference between superstitions and routines, right? And you hear the stories of, you see movies and stuff like that of like some of the superstitions, and I'm recalling a baseball one, which, they have to sacrifice a chicken because they're, try to mix things up. So, which they don't end up doing in the movie. But I think that's a really interesting point, though, right? So it's like your body, and it's true, like your body will recognize, I see that, I know it's snack time, or I know it's nap time, or like whatever. And that means an hour that skates are on.
Yeah.
I'm doing the warm up.
I mean, there are some players who have no routine. Or I saw a goalie who, I think his superstition was, don't do it same way. So he was always different for some reason. And it worked out well for him, but I feel like if you're playing so many games, it just helps you to get, through the game day kind of like smoothly. Like if you know what's going to happen and you're in that program, because I can imagine like just, I don't know, go to see a movie before a game or something,
It's true. That's very true. No, I like that. Well, and so speaking of snacks and meals and stuff like that, Pavel was nice. He came and talked, this is a while ago now, but to my son's high school hockey team and all the players. And it was so much fun. Again, a second opportunity missed. I should have just recorded that one too. But one of the kids asked you about like meals and what you eat and diet
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And you told a great story about one of the pregame meals with spaghetti. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah.
Spaghetti. So can you share that? Because I just like that story.
Yeah. It's like I just told the guys that I wasn't that strict with my diet, but I felt like the older I got, I felt like I knew what's the best for me, for my body. And you see, not only hockey, but every sport is getting more and more professional.
Yep.
It's getting to the kind of the edge of the possibilities of human body, I feel like. And then you can really get the edge by a special diet or something else. But I've seen some guys here on the team, they would have really, really strict diet. They would have their own chef at home, or delivered food.
Yes.
It was something else. And Kale Makar, the biggest superstars, Nathan McKinnon, he's known for being really strict. And so it was my first season with the Avs. We traveled, we played in Chicago, and I sat next to him on the lunch. We usually had like a couple options of, bolognese, chicken, salmon, pasta, rice or something. So I just had a spaghetti with bolognese sauce. It was a big bowl of Parmesan cheese, which I like. So I just put a decent amount on my spaghetti, and I sat next to Nate. And since I put the plate on the table, I saw him staring at me. So I just looked at him, and he was like, "Are you serious?" And I thought he's joking, so I was laughing like you. But he was totally, like, you could see he was a little bit upset. And so I asked him, like, what's going on? He said, like, this much cheese before a game? Are you crazy? So I didn't know if I should laugh or cry in that moment. I was pretty scared. And thank God Mikko ran in, and he just said, buddy, he's old enough. He knows what he needs before game. So he was just shaking his head.
It's so fun.
And I have to say that I was a little nervous on that result that night. I was like, I have to play really good to not, hear that all year. And we ended up winning that game, which since that, it was just a funny story.
That's so, it worked out.
And also I was making sure I'm not going to sit right next to him to get my plate judged by him.
That's right. You're at the other end of the table next time. That's so funny. That became your superstition, like huge thing. Huh?
No, I didn't put that much of a cheese. Never. Just a little bit.
That's true. But I think it's important, though. To your point, you start hearing like more and more like diet. And as you got older, like the diet does play a role.
I feel like, Djokovic was the first guy who he went dairy-free, gluten-free, and he kind of, started talking about it publicly.
Yep.
And look at Nathan McKinnon. Like he's best, and he's getting better every year. I don't know how. Like, I know how,
yes.
But it's those small things. I feel like, he has his own trainer at home or before every game, before every practice. That's why he never gets injured. And these small things adding up, and they gives him, a chance to get better, even though he's the best in the world.
Yes. You're right. It's the small things. They make a difference, right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's really hard to notice until they it's like the compounding effect, right? They all of a sudden there's some point in time which you can't tell when it's going to happen. It's like,
I feel like, the training part of the sport, it's kind of public. Like, what to do to be fast, to be strong, and anyone can do it. But I feel like that's how you get the edge. Like, if you do those other things too. And in Nate's case, like, he's doing all kinds of stuff together. You should see how disciplined, how focused. I've never seen anything like that in my career.
That's amazing. And he just like you, he appears, I've never met him, but like he appears to have an extreme drive. Like he knows what he wants and it appears he has fun doing it. And so that combined with the love, he's like willing to do those things.
Yeah, he's definitely a great role model. He's basically the reason this team is so successful last year's. Definitely other great players too, great coaches, great management. But I feel like the stars of the team, they're just setting up the the level and like the whole culture of the team. And if you see your best player doing extra work after practice, you're not going to go off the ice right away, because you would feel bad that third line forward or four line forward, I'm just going to leave and let this guy work extra. There's everyone staying extra. And when he leaves, then the guy's going to do extra to try to get a little bit closer to his level, and then they leave the ice. And that's how the team grows.
So it's setting that leadership example,
Yes.
right? At every position,
Yes.
you start,
Mm-hmm.
you have that opportunity.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. I think this topic of setting a standard and maintaining the standard is so important, like today more than ever, right? And you see it at the pro level. I would argue not every team has that culture in the NHL even, right? It doesn't appear that way.
Yeah.
And I think it's reflected in record a little bit sometimes.
Exactly.
And all those sorts of things. Coaching staff, right? A couple questions around coaching staff, because it's one thing for like players to do it. It's another thing for coaching staff to demand it and or support it, demand and or support that high standard. How, when you look at the coaching staff, how have you seen like the best coaches you've worked with, do that, either support it or demand that out of players, or is it player driven?
I think it's the best if it's like player driven.
Okay.
But as a coach, you need to know, I feel like you need to know how to use it for the advantage of the team, if you know what I mean. And in the case here in Colorado, I think our head coach Jared Bednar, he's a former player. He's not old, and he still keeps that player mentality. I feel like he's like I've never seen that in Czech or in Russia. There's no chance that you would have a coach going to the locker room and talking to you as even, as a we're friends, like we're teammates, you know. In Russia, it's like, I'm the boss. Whatever I say, you're going to do it, And you can even think about, it's bullshit, like in your head. You're going to go and do it.
Yes.
But here, I was surprised. And I think that's also one of the reasons why this team is working so well, is that he's a good leader. He's a good mentor. And he's one of the team, like, he's one of the players. It feels like that you would have a bad game as a team, and he's not going to sometimes he's going to show up and yell, but sometimes he'll just be there with us and say, what do you think happened? Like, why did we lose? And ask the player, like, I've never seen that before. And I feel like that's going to build the trust that, you feel like we're in this together.
Yes. And you can say that statement in a sarcastic way, where the player's like kind of screw you. But even it's like, well, I actually care. Like, let's
even like together. He's really, like, Jared is really good in putting the responsibility into players' hands.
Yes.
Where in the season, there are stretches where you play like every other day. It's really tough. And he would go and ask the players, like, what do you want to do today? Do you want to practice, or do you want a day off, or do you want to do something else? Like, or he would say, we have a practice day today, and tomorrow we play. We have morning skate. And he would say, you can pick, like, you can either skate today and don't do the morning skate tomorrow, or have a day off today and have the morning skate tomorrow.
Yes.
And he said, all I want from you is to be ready for the game. You know yourself the best. Just do what you need.
Yeah. I like that. And I think that's achievable, like, not every level, right? So I'm sure there's some high school coaches watching being like, I can't do that. But
somewhere you say, like, you want a day off, and he's like, yeah, we'll take it.
Heck yeah. But I think that it's important, though, of like talking to your teammates about, or your players about that, of understanding we are in this together, and I can get input from you. And I may or may not use the input, but most likely I will. And it's like, let's grow this together. Like, what happened? Like, well, we were stuck here in the we couldn't get out of our zone, right? Or
if you look at it from the bigger picture, you are in this together. Even the management, like, we all have one goal. We want to be a good team, like, win. Yep.
I think that's huge. Who's the best who's one example of the best goalie coaches you've had, and what did that person teach you?
I mentioned the guy I played with early in my season, in my career.
Yes.
he ended up being my goalie coach a couple of years after.
Oh, cool.
So we were in that team together for 2 seasons, and then I made it back to the Czech Highs League, and they asked me, who do you want as a goalie coach? And he just retired, so we hired him as a goalie coach.
Oh, get out of here!
And
that's so cool.
he was in national team for like a couple of years because it showed up how good he is in coaching. So he was definitely one of the most important coaches.
Yes.
And also Jussi Parkkila here in Colorado, he's a Finnish goalie coach.
Mm-hmm.
He was big for my like later development, because when I came over, I was already 28 years old, and you would think like I can get better, but with his help, I think I grew as a goalie to be able to play on the highest level.
What's one thing he taught you, like making that transition to NHL?
I had to do some changes, like in my style, the way I approach the game, but he kind of helped the overall view of the game, like the game situations, and he helped me understand the patterns happening in the game, and that way I was able to kind of slow the game up, slow it down for me, because when I would say, an example, when there's a player coming to the zone full speed, you got to know who's coming with him, like, or in the second or third wave. And then you see the player, if he's stopping, he puts the puck on the backhand side where he can shoot it. And he always told me that's your window to go and check. Like it's like split seconds, but you scan the ice and you have perfect idea what are the options, like what's going to happen. And the more and more I did this, the more slow the game felt to me.
Interesting.
No more surprising,
you didn't notice something
going to happen, but
right.
Usually I had perfect picture of what's going to happen or what are the options.
It's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, slowing the game down. Did you watch a lot of film of games? Like,
after every game, we watched the video of the situations and goals. So but I think that's what every goalie coach is doing now. There's like analyzing every game, those situations you see.
Yes.
And especially on those, he would show me, see now he can shoot, and now you can scan, you can see. And
so he'd show you like now scan
on the video. Yeah.
Boom.
And then you saw it real life,
yes.
And then on the video, and it was just getting more and more natural. And then it's just big help.
Yes. I think that's huge. Did you find watching game film intimidating, or did you like it? Or because a lot of times, like, even me too, it's like you're like, oh god, I don't want to watch this. And it could be something good, but you're just like, like this is horrible.
I feel like if you have really bad game or you allow like bad goal, you don't even want to watch it. Like you're like, I know what he's gonna tell you, like, but then it's like that's the mastery of really good goalie coach. If you have that feeling, you don't have to show it. There would be, I remember like with UC, I would have like really bad game. I knew perfectly what I screwed up. And next day it was this mood. I was like, oh crap, I don't want to look at it. I just want to forget it. And he showed up and he's like, we're not going to watch the video today. So I was like, in my head, I was like, thank God. Thank you.
Yes. True.
Yeah.
True.
You have to have that sense where you should dig or just leave it, like.
That's a great point. Yeah, because at the end of the day, like we all like. Yeah,
you want to help. You want to help your goalie. Like if he's struggling and you're just gonna keep digging into it, you're not gonna help him.
Right. And you, again, knowing you probably had already figured out like next time I would have adjusted here, and here. So it's not going to happen again.
Yeah. Usually, like if you get scored, you know why. I feel like.
Yeah. From a goalie perspective, I'm just curious. Like, are screens like almost impossible to see through?
Yeah.
Like, do you have to work really hard to get around them, look around them?
Yeah. It was the biggest difference between playing in Europe and playing in North America.
Oh, really?
Because the ice sheet is bigger there.
Yes.
And the guys, they just want to play more hockey. They don't want to crush into the net, battle that much. So it was easier to just, see the puck, catch it.
Yes.
But here in North America, like if someone would ask me like, how is it to be a goalie there? And I'm like, I just told them like catching the puck, it's like the least complicated thing. That's the cherry on the top of the of the cake.
Yes.
But you have to find the puck first, and that's like the real battle. Because there are some moments where you have like three players from the other team and two teammates or three, so you have 6 huge guys in front of you battling, and then the puck is somewhere on the blue line, but you can't even see it. You can't even see the player with the puck. So you're just trying to find it and hoping everything's gonna go well.
Hoping it doesn't go right over.
There are some moments where you hear everyone's like cheering for the goal and you didn't even see the puck.
Yeah, at that point, like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Other than tell your defenseman, I guess, to clear some people out, please.
Yeah, it's really tough to find the puck, and the guys are not scared to go to the net and screen you. But that's a good challenge for the goalies. It's fun.
Yes.
I mean, I always find this fun. I told everyone that it's more fun to be a goalie here in the NHL than somewhere else because everything's happening quickly and there's always something going on on the smaller ice. So it was fun. I enjoyed like every minute of that.
That's so interesting. Yeah. Well, and did you, when you were playing for the national team, you play against the U.S., I'd imagine, or Canada. Mm-hmm. Does Canada have a similar style to the U.S.? Like crash the net?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a North American thing.
Yes.
When you played the national teams, like when you played against Canada, the U.S., was it like significantly different, like versus Switzerland or?
Yeah. It was different because they had, those NHL star players usually on the World Championships, and you could see the difference, between NHL and the rest of the world, and you can even see it now. I mean, I was on the World Championship in Prague a month ago, and you would watch, I don't know, semi-final game, and it was a great game. Like, it has everything you can ask for. You go home and you think like, man, this was unreal game. But then you turn on conference finals in NHL playoffs and you see it's a different level.
It's like next level.
Yes.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. The last question or two for you. When you are talking to like young hockey players who have aspirations to go do something, right, with their career, and they ask you like, how do I repeat your success, or how do I do what you do? Like, what's the secrets? And we talked about a lot of stuff today, but like, what would you tell those young athletes who have the dream and want to go after it?
I've always like, I get these questions from parents too sometimes, like, what should we do, and I'm just telling them like, just let them enjoy it. Like, just, if someone asks me like, what should I do? I tell them enjoy it. Because there are 1,000 or 1,000,000 possible ways you can achieve it. But I feel like if you really do it with purpose, like from the bottom of your being, like you want to do it, I feel like you're going to do it one day.
Yes.
But it could be different ways. But I think it's really important to think about, like, you want to enjoy it too,
Yes.
because that's why you do it. You sometimes you have that goal and you just want to go, you want to be there in the end of the goal, and you forget you have to enjoy the way too. So I know it's a little bit cliche, but the goal is the whole path to that goal.
Yeah. I can't agree more, because I mean, number of people I came across who didn't want to, as you get to the higher levels, you do come across people who don't want anything to do with it. Like they don't, it's not fun. They don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
They're doing it for different reasons,
but it's fine.
It's
it's fine too. I feel like even like NHL, like you would see some players who were here and they wanted to be here and play highest possible level, but they weren't willing to do what needs to be done to be here.
Yes.
But those players would go to Europe and they can have a great career and live happy life, Very true. So it's like everyone has their own goals, and I feel like it's important to just know yourself enough to, be honest with yourself. And
very true.
But if you ask me one thing, I always say enjoy it. Even now, like if young players ask me, because I remember when I was young, in that years when I was 18, I was playing pro with older guys, and they told me, enjoy every season because you never know how quickly it's gonna go by. And I'm sitting here now as a retired player at age of 34, and I don't even know how it happened. I have all the great memories, but also it feels like, man, I just started and all of a sudden I'm done.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's very true. Yeah, it's you don't know it until you've gone through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That career is relatively short in the grand scheme of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's short, and to your point, you never know when it's going to be.
Yeah,
when it's going to be done. Whether you're ending it on your terms or somebody else's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or just circumstances happen.
Yeah,
it's so interesting. All right, last question. Then I'll get you out of here. You got to go commentate for the Czech national team and just the nationals overseas, right? And that was the first time you'd done that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious because you're at this big transition point right now of like doing commentating, but then obviously working for the Avs and doing as a goalie scout, right, for all of Europe. Two things, I guess, two questions. I can't just ask one question, but no, what was commentating like? Did you enjoy it? Have fun? Like, what was that experience like? And then I'll save my last question.
Okay.
How was that experience?
It was really, really great. I mean, it was a world championship in Czech Republic, in Prague. And when this chance showed up for me, I was like, yes, I'm going to do it. Because I feel like now in the stage of life where I finished my career and I'm just looking around, what can I do?
Yep. And
I feel like I don't want to sound like too confident, but I feel like I can do anything, because I always look on like who's doing it and how much different is he compared to me. Like, maybe it takes some learning too. Like, I did my preparation for that too. And, it was great. Like, our country won that championship after 14 years with no medal. And, the whole country was upside down. And basically at one point in the finals, I saw the stats after, but half of our country watched it live.
Wow.
And I just next day I realized I just spoke live to half of our country.
That's so fun.
And that got me really excited because I was like, that's not going to happen ever again.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I enjoy it. And also, I had my plan and goal in my role because I wasn't like commentating the game. I was an expert in the studio, and I wanted to be really positive because I feel like the environment nowadays in US, it's not that obvious because people are more positive here. They're smiling more. But in Czech Republic, I feel like people are just lately more and more, they're negative. Like they're moaning and, complaining on everything. And this was kind of, adding up to the hockey lately too. There was a world championship and they were done before they even started, Everyone was just, saying they're bad. They're not going to win. They have no chance. But I wanted to be the guy who showed up. And I was just, since day one, I was just saying, we can win this thing. Like if we're going to believe, like I was like, look at this guy trying to, show the best, best parts of their skill of the options. And I feel like in the tournament, I feel like I was getting people on my side more and more. And it got to the point where obviously the team played really well. That was the biggest part. And
that's amazing.
It just got together. And I feel like people told me after and they were like, I didn't believe it at all. And I told them, I believe it since day one. If you have that belief, I think anything can happen,
Yes. It's so fun.
And if it doesn't, what does it cost you to believe?
Right.
What does it cost you to be positive, right?
Maybe in the locker room they were playing your comments and they're like, wow, I think we can win this. Well, they'll figure that out one day. That's so fun. And so last question. Now you're going out looking at goalies, right? Part of what you do on a daily basis. I'm just really curious, do you have specifics outside of skill set, right? They can obviously stop a puck. We got that. But what are you looking for in goalies that you're scouting, bringing forth to the team, ultimately helping the team draft now?
Yeah, I think you're looking at the skill set you mentioned, but I think like in this age, they're 17, 18 years old, and you're trying to predict what kind of how good they're going to be when they're 25. Because I feel like the goalies in NHL starting at 24, 23 maybe, but usually 25, the prime time starts. And I think we're looking for kind of like the hockey IQ or the reading skill. You know,
Yes.
You're looking at I told you about the patterns in the game.
Yes.
And if you see a guy who's 17 or 18 and he's already, you could see like he's not chasing the game. He's ahead of the play sometimes. You understand that he knows what he's doing. Like he has the game under control. And that gives you good hope that if you keep developing him, also working on his skills, like all those smaller details or maybe some mistakes, he can be really good in the future.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
It's important.
I think it's really important for the goalie.
Well, I think it's huge too for any hockey player, and it doesn't matter the sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
We talk to our girls about this for volleyball. Even it's like you have to understand the game and the flow and where people are at, and actually spend time thinking about it and learning
See the whole picture, kind of.
See the whole picture, right? It's just going to help everyone be more successful.
And it also, I feel like I enjoyed the part where we already had the list kind of ready, and we did interviews, you know, with the players themselves, and that tells you too, like you see what kind of person he is, what's his approach, like what's his goal. And that was kind of interesting too, because before that you just see the goalie on the screen or live, but then you see the person behind it too, and that's kind of gives it another level of view.
So interesting. So I'm curious, the goalies. See, it's never one question. The goalies keep saying such interesting things. The goalies, the way they like come across. Would you at that age have had the same answers? Do you think as them? Like
No.
Like,
I feel like the kids today, they're much farther than we were at that point, because I feel like we were just playing hockey for fun, basically at the age of 17, 18.
Yes.
But I have to tell you that I've seen some guys who like shocked me how mature and how like, you know, confident, and then they knew what they want to achieve and they knew what to do for that. And I was just impressed.
That's so wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I would have back in the day been like, let's just go have some fun and want to hit the ball real well. So that's pretty much it.
Perfect.
That's so wild. Okay. Pavel, thank you. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
It's so fun. And then I'm just going to carry, like I said, a recorder around every time I see you from here.
Awesome.
Make our lives easier. So everyone, please go check the show notes. I'll let you know how you can connect with Pavel. Follow him. Follow the Avalanche, of course, or whoever your favorite team is, but Colorado Avalanche here in Denver. But want to thank you all for your time today as well. Love being with you. Love getting to climb into the minds of people like Pavel and give you some tips and tricks. So I hope you took notes. I hope you take some of those notes and put them into action, because this is what this is all about, right? How do we show up the best athlete we can? How do we best show up the best coach that we can? If you're an adult, a parent, a businesswoman, businessman, whatever you might do on a daily basis, you can use everything that Pavel said today to make your life better too. So thank you all for joining. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, share this with your friends and family, and we'll see you on the next interview.